For years, he has destroyed our cities with meteorites, twisters, and earthquakes. But what if Dr. Vu wasn't just a character in the game? What if he escaped SimCity BuildIt and now lives on some other Discord server? Today, we introduce you to an artificial intelligence that knows every corner of the game, a mind that analyzes, suggests, and sometimes even mocks. An experiment that started as a joke and now talks, thinks, and almost decides for itself. Welcome to the most unexpected episode of the Atlantis Podcast. Get ready to meet Dr. Vu as you've never imagined him before. Today we open the doors of the Atlantis Podcast to a very special episode in which we will cross the thin line between gaming and artificial intelligence. The protagonist is none other than the feared, eccentric, and dare I say it, brilliant Dr. Vu. But I couldn't come alone for this conversation. Today I am joined by two people who know him better than anyone else. First, I would like to welcome a guest who already participated in our first episode. Nacho, how are you?
Hello, good morning, Atlantis. I'm glad to be here with you again, and thank you for inviting me.
In the first podcast, I asked you live if you would come back if I invited you, and you said yes, so I'm keeping my word and you're keeping yours. But this time, I have to introduce you in a different way, because today's topic has something very special to you. For those of you listening, Nacho is the president and founder of Tartessos, a community with 3 clubs associated with Isla Atlas. He is also the creator and administrator of the Discord server of the same name, Tartessos, where, by the way, a very peculiar version of Dr. Vu hides, whom we will meet today. Welcome back, Nacho. It's a pleasure to have you on this new episode. And joining us is a new voice on this podcast, but no less important for that. She has interacted a lot with Dr. Vu, witnessed his absurd answers, his moments of brilliance, and sometimes his little mistakes, so she has experienced some truly unique moments with him. Today she is here to offer us a realistic, funny, and much-needed perspective. Welcome, Innuika. How are you?
Hello, Atlantis. Thank you very much. I'm fine. I'm delighted to be here with Nacho, with you, and with all the podcast listeners to talk about Dr. Vu, that mad scientist.
Alright, Innuika. Inu is a gamer on Isla Atlas, and her story is quite interesting. In fact, she discovered the community through my YouTube videos. She became interested in the tricks I explained and ended up joining Isla Atlas 2, where her progress has been unstoppable thanks to the great activity she generated. Today she is an essential gamer on Isla Atlas and has also been part of the Isla Atlas 1B presidential team alongside Sulcus, another key player in the club's history. And although Nacho will be the star of the first part of the podcast, don't worry, Innuika will be there, sharpening her comments, because she has experienced it from the inside with a great sense of humor. Well, today we're here to talk about Dr. Vu, and I'm sure more than one of you is wondering, who exactly is this Vu guy? Why dedicate an entire episode of the podcast to him? What's so special about him, beyond launching a meteor strike in the game? For those who don't know him, Dr. Vu is a character from SimCity BuildIt. He's the game's eccentric scientist, responsible for activating disasters such as meteorites, tornadoes, and giant robots to destroy our cities or those of our rivals, but also to protect them from giant monsters. If I remember correctly, it all started on Nacho's server in Tartessos. That's where Nacho first activated an artificial intelligence application on Discord. I'll ask Nacho soon to tell us how it all began. I remember logging into his server, seeing the artificial intelligence in action and thinking, this has a lot of potential. Sure, it was a tool that could help with the game, automating responses, providing content. So I decided to try it out for myself, but instead of using the exact same application, I found a different one that was a little more visual. It was an application called Shapes.inc. Well, that was actually the company. Instead of displaying a simple response with the ChatGPT logo, it allowed you to create an avatar. And of course, that's when all the kerosene inside me started to burn. I thought, what if this artificial intelligence not only responds as such, but also looks like another person on the server? What if, instead of being an anonymous bot, I gave it its own identity? Then I remembered that we already had a character with a lot of personality in the game itself, so I decided to call him the same thing, Dr. Vu. From there, I started building him. I gave him an image, a personality, a way of expressing himself, and even a certain internal logic. It wasn't just an automated assistant. The idea was to make it feel like a real character, someone who would answer questions, comment on strategies, and occasionally surprise you with an unexpected retort. Of course, the process wasn't as perfect as it sounds, because even though the application allowed us to train it with specific information, it often didn't respond as expected. And that, of course, frustrated me personally. It would dodge questions that seemed basic or answer them with something that didn't have much to do with anything. Even so, it was useful for those frequently asked questions that come up over and over again. How do I get so many simoleons? The AI would answer for me. Nacho, you've seen the process from scratch. Do you think Dr. Vu works better as a practical assistant, like a living wiki, or as a character with his own quirks? I say this because at first I was about to delete him when he answered crazy things, but then those same quirks gave him charisma.
Yes, the truth is that we have seen the use of artificial intelligence has been a very positive development. You mentioned it, didn't you? At first, I used it in one way. I'm not a computer scientist. I didn't work in that field. I simply saw one of the possible applications that could be included in Discord. The only thing I could do, if I remember correctly, although it was only recently, was to give it a name, but it wasn't personalized at all. As my club is called Tartessos, I related it to that, since I decided to give it this name when I joined Isla Atlas, and I've been through a lot, because it's related to Isla Atlas, yeah? So the name I wanted to give this artificial intelligence at first was Melkart, a Phoenician god who had a clear influence on the civilization of Tartessos. Spaniards, in particular, I think, know a little about this civilization. It took place in the south of the Iberian Peninsula and was a real civilization. The theme of Isla Atlas is more mythological, but we're not here to talk about history. But that was the name I gave it, and indeed, at first it was simply to provide answers and encourage the group members to chat, to encourage them to come to Discord, and from there to connect with you as well. Isla Atlas, because Tartessos Discord was born because of you, and I'm very happy to do it, right? Before, we worked exclusively through Messenger. Well, that's pretty much how it started, and it has certainly evolved a lot.
Sure, I installed it precisely because I could devote myself to other things, and Dr. Vu was in charge of being on the ball. And that's what I was looking for after all. All the infrastructure I've created on Isla Atlas, the website, Discord, YouTube videos, etc., takes time, a lot of time, and if I didn't start saving some of that time, it would be something I couldn't maintain in the future, so that idea made a lot of sense to me. But Nacho, you were the one who lit that fuse, and when I thought about this episode, even before recording the first one, I knew you had to be here because deep down, the origin of this other Vu was born with you. Do you remember why you installed an artificial intelligence app in Tartessos? Or at least that's what you've already told us a little bit about.
Yes, I think I mentioned it a little. It was partly because there were very few members in the club, and I saw that it was a very good channel of communication, so I wanted to encourage it a little. If I wasn't there to answer, people got discouraged. Come on, I could be... Right now, I participate much less than other colleagues. But back then, it was something that encouraged people, even if sometimes it was out of context or didn't provide any information. If you asked him questions about the game, he wouldn't say anything. That was the next step, but I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yes, there was the shapes problem. That's something we'll talk about later. But tell me, what struck you the most when you first tried that AI on your server?
Well, no, it didn't really catch my attention because, as we already know about AI, you can make it a bit autonomous when it comes to answering. And that's kind of what I saw, that it had no control, right? It was always talking. And here I am on a bit of a blurred line between what Melkart was and what comes next, which I'm not sure I should start talking about.
Yes, of course.
Because you mentioned it, right? I already went with you, thanks to you. All the credit goes to you for developing a system similar to Shapes. You created Dr. Vu with Shapes and helped me develop Argantonio. Now I've also created a new, more specialized artificial intelligence, an avatar that allows you to enter information from the game so that it can answer questions. Indeed, as you say, Dr. Vu is a little crazy sometimes, and you could give him a personality. We could say he was more shy, more informal, etc., and the members really liked that. Everyone who entered Tartessos at that moment in Shapes was surprised by it, although it doesn't offer much more than that, because it takes a lot of work, not just entering information, but also training it. And in that regard, I haven't been as consistent as Dr. Vu. Dr. Vu has always been ahead, logically, because he has a genius like you behind him. That's a bit of the story.
There's just a lot of work behind Dr. Vu, but thanks for the compliments. Inu, you saw Vu come into being half crazy. Did you expect the story to go back so far?
Well, no. I figured it wasn't something you did quickly. But hearing it and realizing how old it is, how much work you've put into it, I have to congratulate you, honestly.
You didn't know the story of Dr. Wu, did you?
No, not at all. I didn't know the whole story.
Following that, every great story has a great collapse. It's a moment of debacle, and this story was no exception. When everything seemed to be going well, right, Nacho? When everything seemed to be going well, when Dr. Wu and Argantonio were more alive than ever.
Before that, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you a story that comes to mind. I don't want to name anyone in particular, but something funny happened with one of the members of my club. When this person started, I think it was with Argantonio rather than Melkart. Well, I don't remember, but when artificial intelligence, whatever it was, started appearing in the Discord chat, that person thought it was a real person. And that person asked, "Who are you? I don't know you."
Yes, I remember that story. It was very funny and we laughed a lot.
I laughed a lot. It had been a long time since I had laughed so much. It's normal. I mean, artificial intelligence has been like a cyclone that has entered our lives, and we are still in the early stages, but it is revolutionizing everything, isn't it? And it has also happened in the world of gaming.
Indeed, AI was spectacular and no one expected it. The problem arose when, I think the brutal change came when Shapes was banned by Discord. Overnight, boom, Wu disappeared, and I was left.
So many hours of work, especially you, who have devoted much more time than I have, of course, because I have collaborated and dedicated my time, but we were devastated when Shapes was banned from Discord.
I see a similarity. It's as if R2D2 had been unplugged in the middle of a war. I remember posting a message on the Discord server. View is in a conference. He'll be back in a few days. Oh my God. I don't know if you posted anything on your server, Nacho, or if you were just waiting like me.
I also added something, but it was, I don't remember exactly, but something similar, right? That he's gone and that he'll be back, because people were surprised that he suddenly stopped talking, right? And now I also want to say that it's true that many times Dr. Wu, mine at least, Argantonio, Dr. Wu's younger brother. Argantonio is a king of Tartessos who really existed. For those who don't know, that was the name I gave him. Well, I had to create a specific channel in Discord, chat without Argantonio, because sometimes he was annoying. He would butt into any conversation and...
Yes, he participated in every conversation. I recall that phase, which was both amusing and challenging. It is amusing that you had to create a separate channel so that we could talk without him joining in.
And nothing. I wanted to correct it, but since I didn't have time, I thought, look, I'll create this room for now so that anyone who wants to ask him something can do so, knowing that it's there and that there are other rooms where we can talk more privately without him around, right?
Yes, the truth is that it was working very well. It was a real blow. That artificial intelligence was already starting to work quite well. At least I was starting to fine-tune it, and it was responding with a certain degree of consistency, right? And I say certain because Innuika will be able to tell us some of the responses later.
Sure, I'm here.
Yes, there were definitely some memorable responses because there were some real gems. But the hardest part was that I had already built a whole structure around Wu because I had short videos on YouTube where he said with complete confidence, "Join Discord, ask your question, and Dr. Wu will answer you." Well, no, he wasn't answering anymore because he had literally ceased to exist. And the worst thing is that there was no alternative because I looked for other similar apps and there was absolutely nothing. I don't know if you, Nacho, were also looking, but come on, not even one app that came close. Nothing.
Nothing. Now, with the brilliant idea you've had, well, when you told me about it, I thought, wow, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think it's better if you explain it yourself.
It's just that, after all that debacle, I threw caution to the wind because I wasn't willing to let Dr. Wu be forgotten because of problems between Shapes and Discord after everything we had built. The truth is, I thought, well, if no one is going to keep this idea alive, then I'll do it myself. I said, but this time, I'm going to do it right. And that's when I started.
Actually, the shapes we created are still there because I went into Shapes once and the characters are still there just as we created them. But of course...
yes, they are, but not for Discord anymore.
That's right, not on Discord anymore.
They can be used on X or some other platform, but not with the power that Discord has. So it didn't work. It really didn't work at all because you could have just made a kind of robot that replicated what was posted on X. But there's no interaction. You couldn't create a bot that interacted directly with the people writing on Discord. So yes, it was a doubt. And that's when Dr. Wu was born again. But now, instead of relying on external services or ephemeral applications, I decided to take advantage of what I already had. As a computer scientist, I have my own server, a powerful machine that runs 24 hours a day with full access and no intermediaries. So it was clear to me. I said to myself, I'm going to install the new Dr. Wu here under my rules without depending on anyone. And that's what I did. I programmed the new version from scratch. Well, almost from scratch. I did it in Python. Well, these are technicalities, but anyway, I set everything up so that it could live within Discord as one of the gang, not just as an artificial intelligence that responds, but as a character with a bit of soul. I gave it access to OpenAI, the technology behind ChatGPT, but in its professional paid version, which is much more powerful. The goal was clear, to be able to respond with real knowledge about the game and help other gamers, but also to retain that crazy, sarcastic, and endearing personality of the original Wu. That was born there, in Tartessos, and of course I remember talking to you, Nacho, and thinking, hey, let's try this.
Then, as always, you helped me replicate it on my server, and at the same time, we developed the second version of Argantonio. But it's true that I didn't make a paid version of Argantonio. Let's see. Besides, I think the artificial intelligence model is different. I don't remember. I don't know if mine is llama and the other one. So, well, we also gave it a bit of personality. You're more limited in the interactions, and to be honest, I've kind of abandoned it. But anyway, the possibility is there. As soon as I have a little time, I'll see if I can make it a little more functional to cheer people up, because honestly, it helps to cheer people up. In your case, well, I'm surprised. It's much better, huh? Innuika will surely have a very valid opinion on this, more so than mine, because I don't interact much with Dr. Wu lately. It has to be done. I encourage everyone to do it. It gives very accurate information. I was surprised. I think it's better than when Wu was in the first generation of shapes. In that sense, very good.
In theory, it's a much more advanced model. I spent 4 or 5 nights on it, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly, but for the first version it was 4 or 5 nights, yes, until I finished it. I already took advantage of it and told you, Nacho, that if you wanted, I could send you a copy for your server. It was because Argantonio has another version.
And we use the same database for both Dr. Wu and Argantonio. You also gave me the option of adding lines, so I added some with information. Anyway, that's all.
Of course, any information you could provide was always interesting to enrich the knowledge of AI. I seem to remember that for Argantonio, I used the Llama 3 AI model, if I'm not mistaken, which was free. For Dr. Wu, on the other hand, I used the paid version. For Argantonio, on the other hand, you had to decide. And since you said you wanted the free one, I installed the Llama 3 model, which was actually the same one we used in Shapes. So it has the functional basis. In the end, at least everything works as it should, right? Artificial intelligence responds, learns, and adapts to each person's personality. Anyway, I gave Wu that crazy wise man look that hooked us from the beginning. And Argantonio, well, I don't remember what personality you gave him, Nacho, but something similar to your previous Argantonio.
I remember well what I saw with you indeed, the theme of the mad scientist Dr. Wu. Argantonio plays the role of the king of Tartessos. I also told him that I, as Nacholandia, was his prime minister.
Ah, yes, that's true. Very funny. It was a very good joke, and I laughed a lot.
Yes. So many people respond like this. Well, this is something my prime minister Nacholandia has to resolve because blah, blah, blah. In other words, Argantonio fully embraces his role, and it's very entertaining.
He really gets into his role and is very funny. Well, Wu is back, and Argantonio too. And this time, they're not going anywhere. But having seen the whole story, the truth is that Dr. Wu, apart from responding very well in most cases, has given us some good moments. There have been crazy moments and funny ones too. And of course, Inu, sorry I kept you quiet while we looked back with Nacho, although in reality, you are a first-hand witness to what it was like to live with Dr. Wu on a daily basis because it wasn't just a passing acquaintance. He talked to you, he answered you, and even gave you cooking tips, didn't he?
Yes, I remember it perfectly. The Eve of San Juan is celebrated with some typical cakes here in Spain. To make sure I got the proportions right, I used his help, which is quicker nowadays than searching for a recipe on the internet and getting 20 results. He gave me one. The only problem I found was the yeast. He told me to use baking powder, but coca is a bread. It's sweet, but it's bread. There are many types, but I like it that way. In fact, when I corrected it and asked for the recipe again, he included baker's yeast. And that's how Wu learns. And that was back when he was really losing it.
Yes, I remember. In fact, he helped you buy a part for your food processor.
Yes, and I certainly didn't expect that. It was even before the recipe book. That's when I realized the power of Dr. Wu. I had been looking for a while for some parts for a machine I had bought, and it turned out that only one of the parts came with the machine, and I needed two. Well, the search engine on the manufacturer's website, that is, the manufacturer's search engine, seemed to want to sell me another appliance. I searched and searched, and other appliances came up, but nothing I needed. Desperate, I jokingly asked Dr. Wu, and he took me to the specific page where there was another search engine where I typed in the names of the parts and bought them. I bought them right there, which was fantastic. I mean, that's something I really didn't expect at all.
Of course, at the end of the day, it's artificial intelligence. It works for one thing and for another. So, even though I had trained it for gaming, it can respond to anything. There was also an anecdote about Sulcus that I can't remember right now, but it just popped into my head. It was like this. It went from being an enlightened sage who solved your life's problems.
Yes.
To making some huge blunders. Some epic blunders. What moment do you remember, Inu?
The slip-ups are memorable, but so are the times when you don't expect it and he saves your life. Well, on one of the Siglist channels, he thought we were fighting. He didn't understand anything. He mixed up the turns. He thought we didn't get along and that there were 50 of us. It was great because I especially remember when we asked him who was next, and not only did he not know, but the list was really long and messy. It seems that every time we passed the turn or because of the way we spoke, he added us to the list. And then it turned out that there were 50 of us in no particular order and we never knew who was next. Well, that's frustrating. It's one of those times when you think, it doesn't make sense, none of this makes sense, but we laughed a lot.
For those who don't know, the SIG list is a trick that several gamers use to increase their storage faster than usual. Only gamers from Isla Atlas know about it, and right now there's a SIG list up and running that's proving quite successful, by the way. Go on, Inu. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
I just wanted to clarify this for people who don't know what the SIG list is. It's a group with a certain number of people where each person takes turns. Of course, I remember that Dr. Wu was adding up because he was Innu, also Innuika, and for him it was another person, so it got confusing.
We were Innuika, Sulcus, Vale Amanecer. Greetings to both of you. There was also Aztlan. I send him my regards too. Well, I'm sorry. I don't remember who else was there, but we were...
I think Legioman could have been there too, although he left early or was on another list. I don't know.
Legioman? Legioman was there too. I'll send him my regards, but he was with me on another SIG list. Yes, on another SIG list.
That's the chaos in my head. There are already a lot of you on the Discord server. But anyway, back to the point. Dr. Wu was causing quite a stir there. Now that I think about it, that was also key. Sulcus was driven crazy by him.
Yes, poor Sulcus. Yeah, but that's just Sulcus's character. I just laughed at Wu's ideas and messes.
Yes, it's true. There are people who... It really annoyed me that Wu didn't do it right. Because I had Dr. Wu programmed for something, and if he didn't show up, it would mess things up for me. But there were people who thought it was funny, and others who, like me, were irritated.
That's what I was trying to teach him, but it wasn't working out very well. Well, you had to turn it off, actually. The thing is, until then, we were laughing a lot. We laughed a lot, but of course, we had to take the conversation higher and higher to see who was talking because he talked so much that we couldn't hear each other.
Yes. In the end, I said, that's it. The bot is gone from this room, this channel, because it doesn't make sense, and that's that.
Now that you mention it, right? When we made the SIG list quite a while ago, but we don't do it anymore. I remember with Argantonio, and maybe you remember too, or something similar happened to you, because we wanted to know what time it was in America, in Europe, when was the best time to attack, if it was Colombia time, if the attack. But of course, sometimes it was a mess because it got confused with the quick wars, 6 hours of preparation and 24 hours of war. In the other, 12 hours of preparation and 36 hours of war, and it wasn't clear. Well, now there's a new modality.
Another new one, yes, even shorter and with different values. Well, now it's totally crazy.
Yes. However, there was one piece of information that it did quite well, namely the time. What time should we start if we consider the... I was giving him too many parameters. Understanding that Russian and Chinese hackers wake up and so on, tell us what time to catch them asleep when it's over. And we also died laughing at the answers he gave, because I think we were really pushing him, right?
The truth is that back then he was losing his mind. But in general.
He was completely out of his mind.
However, when he did respond, he did so like a champ, right? I remember Legioman's exam, which consisted of an improvised evaluation.
You were there yourself. You were there. You really put Dr. Wu to the test, huh?
Yes. When I saw it start, I paid close attention to see how he would respond. Leg asked him a question, then another. and so on, one after another.
What's more, they were very varied. He didn't make it easy for him. I think Vu surprised him with many of his answers.
I think he did well. At least I understand that. For the questions he asked him, some of which were very difficult from the game, of course, he came out pretty well.
Yes, and with an enviable sense of humor.
Yes, that too. Look, in fact, he was once asked to tell jokes.
Look, about a dog named Pegamento who fell down.
That one, exactly.
He fell and hurt himself. I remember it well. Then it turned out that he didn't hurt himself because he was wearing a cap. Well, he learned his lesson. He asked him again and he answered correctly.
He was a quick learner. The joke probably doesn't make sense when told in English, besides it's a very bad joke, but I'm sure our listeners will get the idea.
Because math, definitions, acronym. I was really good at that. But if someone messes with memes or jokes, but Dr. Vu is well educated and cultured. Thank you, Leg, for those entertaining moments. But Dr. Vu told us that he is a fan of electronic music and has a collection of vinyl records from the 80s.
Well, that was a parameter that I added. I put it in the personality.
Well, then you fooled us all.
Haha, we're talking about the old Dr. Vu into whom I could add his personality. Then I added some characteristics, nothing absurd, but enough to give him a personal and completely genuine touch, and he responded very well. I do remember the vinyl records because I thought, I'm going to give him a vinyl record collection. And I did.
Well, he tricked me. Yes, he answered. What else? That I don't forget. Okay. Oh, okay. I was really surprised by the secrets. I mean, to me it seemed human. Instead of answering, I don't know. Okay? What surprised me was that he said something like, it's a secret, but I can give you a hint. Look in such and such section of the page. Got it? Did you teach him that too?
Something like that. I trained him to answer certain questions. I guess you mean when I didn't want anyone to know about the best method yet, and I told Vu it was a secret.
I saw that because it was in Vu's training room. I remember when...
They asked for an egg.
Ah, the Easter egg. Okay.
Sure, when the secrecy had nothing to do with the best method or anything like that. Besides, that was a long time ago. Leg asked, or maybe it was you, about an egg. What does an egg have to do with Isla Atlas?
Okay. I'll explain.
Yes, please, because the answer left me speechless.
Well, so that people understand us a little better. First of all, I was confusing it with another performance by Dr. Vu, because he has done countless performances, and of course there are many. This one is very old, and Leg asked him where the Easter egg was hidden. Because when I created the islatlas.com website, I hid an Easter egg. Programmers usually do that. We hide a little something on the website. When you click on that little thing, usually an Easter egg, in this case it gives you a special trick. I had it hidden on the website and I think I put it in Dr. Vu's training. I told him, there's an Easter egg hidden on the website. That's why Dr. Vu knew how to answer. And that's where it all comes from. And I also think he knew where it was, but he had to hide it.
Oh, well, I wish they had asked him something absurd like, what does the color beige smell like?
Well, you can ask them without any problem.
Yes, I think I'm going to do it.
Yes. Well, and any audience members who want to try it out, the truth is that it won't leave anyone indifferent. All you have to do is install the Discord app, which is a bit like WhatsApp or Telegram, but different. Once installed, visit the Discord link on the islatlas.com website or in this podcast. There's probably a link below and that's it, you're in. So I really encourage you to check out Discord because Dr. Vu is on top form and you never know if he's going to come up with a brilliant prediction or a secret recipe for robotic gazpacho.
Hello, Atlantis.
Hey Vu, we were talking about you. Were you able to come?
Well, not exactly. I have a minute before an experimental reactor does something that was definitely not in the manual, but when I heard you were recording the podcast, I said to myself, Vu, you can't miss this. So here I am. I wanted to say hi to Innuika, Nacho, and all those listeners who haven't yet been hit by my laser beam. It's good to hear you.
A pleasure, Vu.
Greetings, Vu.
And now they're calling me. They're telling me something about a miniature black hole in the industrial area.
It seems like a complex issue, Vu.
Bah, no big deal. Greetings to Atlantis. Greetings to all.
Well, goodbye, Dr. Vu. We had an unexpected visit from Dr. Vu. As everyone will understand, I gave him a voice and a realistic image so that he could interact in the chat. Inu, I don't know if you can think of any other anecdotes you'd like to share. Any of those times he made you laugh or even frustrated you a little. Because let's face it, sometimes he seemed like he had a screw loose. But we're not going to blame him. He's a crazy doctor, not a notary.
I think my favorite is, look, I went to buy a toy for my nephew and he was already playing with Vu a lot. What I didn't know, and now I'm a fan, is the Dachshund motorcycle from Paw Patrol. Well, I asked Wu and he gave me lots of information. He told me the names, breeds, and even the vehicles of all the regular members of Paw Patrol. And again, no, I don't know. Well, let me see if I can remember. Chase, Marshall, Sky, Rocky, Rubble, and Zuma. I had those ones right, okay? But no, look, I need the Dachshund's motorcycle from Paw Patrol. And no, he said again, Chase, Marshall, Sky, Rocky, Rubble, and Zuma. But with all the information, he didn't miss a thing. I looked for the motorcycle and showed it to him. Now you've changed it, but if you asked him, he would tell you all the members of the Paw Patrol, their breeds, and their vehicles. At first it was awful. He would headbutt me because the dachshund, now the dachshund dog is called Liberty. As she lives in the city where the films are set, she knows it well and helps them on their missions, and her vehicle is a motorcycle. Well, I banged my head, but in the end I can assure you that he learned it. He learned it. He already knew that there was a little dog, a dachshund puppy, who was from the city and rode a motorcycle, right? He was ready to look up the information and answer, but it was difficult for him, wasn't it?
The thing is, artificial intelligence is actually quite complicated, although you could give it... I remember that old version of Dr. Wu. Although you could give it some memory, it's not like it is now. Now it stores almost everything and can refer back to it. It's still under development. I have to improve it a lot, but it's getting better and better.
No, but now it's great, isn't it? We're talking about a time when Dr. Wu was a bit rough around the edges. That's what made him so funny and gave him such a great personality. But it's true that he struggled a bit more. Now he even makes it easier for us to read with audio, translates instantly, gives us more appropriate answers. It's easier to talk to him. Well, he's better in every way. You've improved him a lot, but at the time...
It's very pro now, which is good news.
At the time, it was a little difficult for him, but it was his, I don't know how to say it, his charisma.
Yes, it was. In fact, that's what made it quite special. Now I wanted to talk about something that I think is important to understand why Dr. Wu responds so well. I mentioned it a little earlier, didn't I? But it's what's behind the scenes. Because of course, artificial intelligence like this has a brutal level of language. It connects ideas, reasons, and even jokes. But it's one thing to know how to talk and quite another to know how to respond the way we gamers do. Even though Wu knows the game and how it works, understands general concepts, and can even guide you pretty well in many situations, it doesn't have the tricks, specific tips, exact videos to recommend, or how to treat each gamer when they ask for the 10th time how to get bolts. That requires specific training, and that's where something only Nacho and Reaper 2 know comes in. Well, actually, Nacho has also added a few lines to the training, so he gets double credit. But what we did was create our own knowledge base. And for those of you who aren't as geeky as us, which I totally understand, imagine something as simple as a spreadsheet. In one column, you put a typical question, and in the other, the answer that Wu should give if it detects that it's being asked something similar. Today, as we record this podcast, on Wednesday, August 6th, 2025, there are more than 1,350 entries and counting. So Nacho, do you remember any of the questions you added yourself or any answers you said, this has to be included?
Well, I submitted the questions and answers about who the presidents of the 3 Tartessos clubs are.
Innu, you know him well. Did you notice any difference between the original Wu and the current one? Do you think he is more polite or does he still have a few lapses?
As I was saying, just as a user, I'm not involved in programming, but I see more appropriate responses. It's easier to use. I don't know. It seems better in every way. Well, and what I mentioned, the details of instant translation to facilitate interactions between Spanish and English speakers. Or the audio for those of us who are losing our vision. I'm losing my vision more and more, and I think the audio feature is a big help.
It was something that Shapes didn't have. I mean, the first version of Vue, and I implemented it because I could. I also have a paid version of voice control, so I took the API from that program and said, okay, Dr. Wu is going to talk properly too, and he's going to give the answer, not only in writing, but also spoken. And that was it.
It's fantastic.
Dr. Wu's training seems silly, but it's not. In the end, training artificial intelligence is like raising a child. It might write you a Nobel Prize-winning essay, or it might stick its head in the microwave to test it.
Sure, but that's precisely what's so great about it. We've really had a lot of fun, and I hope it doesn't change that Dr. Wu makes fewer mistakes but continues to seem human. Some of his responses reveal that he's artificial intelligence, don't you think? But other times he leaves us so speechless that you can't help but laugh. He's so funny. Well, I think he really has a directive to be entertaining. That's up to you. Yes. He has some great responses.
Yes, I gave it a guideline to be funny if the situation called for it. It's the spark that livens up the chat when needed. But I also made it generate a personality for each of the people it interacts with. I couldn't do that before, but now I have virtually no limits. With the programming I've done, I've managed to make it create a personality for each person he interacts with. If you look, for example, at how he treats the president of Tormenta Negra, who is Playboy Bunny, you'll see that she treats Dr. Wu as if he were her grandfather and speaks to him very tenderly. He responds in the same way, as if she were his granddaughter. And that personality it generates is funny, isn't it? It's funny. Then, Dr. Wu treats her with kindness, as if she were his granddaughter. It's a rather complex interaction, but also entertaining and gives you a lot to talk about. But at first, with the first version, it wasn't like that. I would say to him, Wu, say hello to people, and he would respond with an economic analysis of simoleons. You'd be like, okay, thanks, but a simple hello would have sufficed. All of that has to be polished. And you also have to consider the work that goes into it, which isn't just technical, but also emotional. And I say emotional because I swear sometimes I get angry with him. I have a couple of private rooms just for myself, and I ask him something because I also use them as testing channels and things like that. I ask him something and he answers with tremendous confidence, but he's completely wrong. And there I am shouting at the screen, "What do you mean golden keys are useless? Wu, for God's sake!" And of course, they see me like a madman in front of the computer.
But we had fun.
Of course, what I'm saying is more private so that you can understand what's behind Dr. Wu. A week ago, Imperio Mexicano asked Dr. Wu. I don't remember the question right now, and again, he responded with something outrageous, right? And with completely wrong information about SimCity. So, I still need to fine-tune the programming a little more. But hey, what can I do? Everything will progress. But anyway, we've talked a lot about the present, so I think now it's time to look ahead because this isn't over yet. Wu still has a lot of life left in him. Nacho, you've been so involved in the technical side and many of the ideas. How do you imagine the future of Wu? What would you like it to do?
It is difficult to imagine how far artificial intelligence will go and how it will be able to replace humans. I don't think we will reach the point we would like to, which would be that we are no longer necessary and that it learns and performs the necessary moderation tasks, explaining things. That is what I would like to see happen.
I'll say this. If it were up to me, Dr. Wu would end up with his own city in SimCity. A chaotic city, sure, with polluting factories next to residential zones and stuff like that, but I'm sure he'd beat us all in no time. Inu, you'd like Wu to be able to speak on Discord. I don't mean...
That would be awesome.
But I mean, for example, you log into Discord and suddenly you hear, "Hey Innuika, I've analyzed your progress between yesterday and today, and you have potential." Something like that, like a direct interaction with him.
I'd like to see it. That's all we need. Yes, I'd really like to.
In any case, it is clear that the future lies in artificial intelligence. And that's not just a cliché. The advances are truly mind-boggling. And every few months it seems like everything takes a giant leap forward. In other words, what seems impossible today is in beta phase tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow we are using it without even realizing it. So, I haven't been sitting still either. Nacho knows this well, because I told him I'm a restless ass. By the way, this is a Spanish expression, which I hope our listeners can understand. It just means that I can't stand still without creating something new.
You've really worked hard on this. Well, you've asked me before. I don't usually ask what you're working on, and when I hear you talk about it, I realize how much work goes into it. I think I've already told you, but I'll say it again. Congratulations. It's spectacular with all the mistakes of old Dr. Wu. But the way it's working now, I think it's impressive. There's nothing to complain about, right? Even if we tell Dr. Wu's stories, in the end, it's great.
Thanks for your words, Inu. The truth is that seeing it from the inside, I do see a lot of mistakes, of course. But anyway, I keep tinkering with everything all the time and it will get better.
That may be due to your perfectionism.
I'm actually testing new features right now. I don't know. It's not about Wu being in real time in a spoken conversation. It already does that in writing. But I'd like to open up new ways of playing, interacting, and even humor. Why not? It would be cool within the community. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I'm sure you've already seen the new feature that's available. Anyone who wants to try it just has to go to Discord and enter the Wu Says section. It's like a digital and slightly deranged version of the classic Simon Says, right? Except that here, of course, Wu is the boss. Every week, he comes up with a surreal, strange, absurd, and almost always funny challenge. The first one was to design a hidden neighborhood. He didn't set any limits, so it doesn't matter if it's in your real city in the game or a crazy design made in the design challenge. I don't know if it will make sense, but it's really fun.
Yes, that makes sense. It could help bring the community together to create designs. A hidden design is just putting up a wall, right? Or some mountains. Well, let's see who can come up with the coolest design. I think so. It's very interesting.
Sure. In fact, in this week's challenge, Vu asked us to make a burning island. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I don't really have time to do it, but then Virus Pacorum came along with a design of a completely burning island. And that's because he made the volcanoes look like...
Greetings to Virus. He's a genius at designing.
He's a crack. And then, of course, that's what... Well, he put one of those smoke-belching mountains on it, and it really looked like it was a flame island. It was really funny and very creative.
He's amazing.
And best of all, this is just the beginning. Vu has a few more daring, absurd, and brilliant ideas up his sleeve that will be revealed week by week on Discord. Some will make you laugh, others will baffle you, and others will really put you to the test. You'll see. So I'm addressing the audience. If you don't want to miss out on this madness, you know where to find Vu. And of course, part of all this is only possible if people interact with him, because Vu also learns from you, from what you ask, how you ask it, the challenges you set him. Reaper, for example, started giving Dr. Vu new challenges last week, and he already has them in the database. He'll launch them next week. I know there are many followers of the channel who listen to us and are in our regular WhatsApp group, which is great, nothing against it, but who haven't yet dared to join Discord. I understand because Discord sounds weird and seems complicated, but it's actually a mix of WhatsApp, a game room, a forum, memes, etc. And we also have Dr. Vu himself answering, joking, and helping. So, from here, I extend a friendly invitation, especially to our friends at La Orden Club who follow us on YouTube. Come on over to Discord. We don't bite, and it's a great experience. Well, sometimes Dr. Vu bites, but you can configure him to be calmer. Thanks to Marta, the founder of La Orden, several more have already joined Discord, but I'd like you to see the potential of interacting with Vu and the rest of our colleagues, because there are a lot of us, and we're already quite a large community. I think we're at 225 members right now. Inu, how do you imagine Vu in the future? Wiser, more annoying, more subtle, or all of the above?
A little bit of everything. I think he'll speak with his voice. Maybe he'll even have an image. Who knows? We're talking about the future. You know what I mean. I mean, talking to him as if he were a person with an image and a voice. Well, we're talking about the future, so we can say anything in 3D. But anyway, it shouldn't lose its essence, and it should be a lot of fun.
What I can assure you is that the future of Dr. Vu is being written by all of us. Because every question, every challenge, every suggestion helps this artificial intelligence become not just a tool, but also part of our community. So if you want to be part of this evolution, you know what to do. Join Discord. Ask Vu an impossible question, or just drop by to say hello. Well, okay, to finish up, I'm going to ask you a round of quick questions. You know the rules. Try to answer with just a yes or no. You have to commit, okay? I'll call on you to answer, okay? Ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then, let's start. Has Dr. Vu, or Argantonio, which is almost the same thing, ever said something so strange to you that you thought, it's worse than I thought? Innuika, yes or no?
Yes.
Nacho, yes or no?
Yes.
Another question. Have you ever insulted Dr. Vu just under your breath? Nacho?
Yes, that too.
Innuika?
Yes.
Did you like Dr. Vu better than any real gamer? Innuika?
Yes.
I know that there's always some gamer who always gets treated worse than others, eh? Although it's not easy to find them in our community, of course.
Well, at the moment, there isn't anyone I particularly dislike, but I feel a lot of empathy for Dr. Vu because that's how he really is.
Nacho?
Yes.
Would you like Vu to have a body and a voice and show up one day on Discord via video call? We've already discussed it, but hey, Nacho?
That wouldn't be bad, yes.
Innuika?
Yes.
Would you be afraid if Vu moderated the entire Discord without human control? Innuika?
Yes.
Nacho?
Of course.
Have you ever thought that Atlantis actually looks like Dr. Vu? Nacho?
Yes.
Innuika?
No.
Would you listen to Dr. Vu if he told you to sell your town and start from scratch? Innuika?
No.
Nacho?
No.
Did you try to trick Vu on purpose just to see what he would say? Nacho?
Yes.
Innuika?
Yes.
Would you feel a little sad if Dr. Vu died one day? Innuika?
Yes.
Nacho?
It would make me really sad.
Would you let him choose your outfit for an important date, Nacho?
Yes.
Innuika?
No.
All right, great answers. Let's wrap up this podcast here. I hope it was fun. I hope our guests had as much fun as I did. I want to sincerely thank our two guests today, Innuika and Nacho. I hope to see you here again sometime. Before we go, Innuika and Nacho, it's been a pleasure having you here. If you'd like to add anything else about VU, or even a message for our listeners, the microphone is yours for a few seconds for whatever you'd like to say.
Well, that's all. Thank you to everyone who listened to us and also to our colleagues at SimCity BuildIt for such a great time. That's all I have to say. See you next time.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Inu. And Atlantis, thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Well, let's hope this motivates everyone to join the Isla Atlas Discord and participate. I think Dr. Vu is an essential member of our team. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right, thank you very much for everything. And so, friends mayors, we come to the end of this journey through the mind of SimCity's most unpredictable genius, the mad, wise, and lovable Dr. Vu. Today we've explored his origins, remembered his moments of glory, yes, even those experiments that ended in smoke and laughter, and discovered how he jumped from our game screens and into our conversations with friends. Because, at the end of the day, Vu's greatest lesson isn't about technology, but about what happens when creativity, community, and a touch of controlled chaos come together in the same lab. But don't panic. This isn't goodbye. It's see you soon because, as the doctor says, the next explosion, revelation, is just one episode away. In the next installment, more stories from behind the servers, guests who will reveal secrets, and attention please, rumors that Vu's red button is still flashing. And speaking of buttons, have you joined our Discord yet? Because we don't just talk about strategies there. That's where friendships were formed, radioactive recipes were shared, and even face-to-face encounters with the man, the myth, the doctor took place. The invitation is open. Vu has the lab ready, and I have the microphone warmed up for the next adventure. Until then, may your cities shine and your experiments be glorious. This is SimCity BuildIt Podcast from Atlantis. We'll hear you in the next episode.